Hello and welcome to another episode of Study Sessions, or should I say, Baughcuts, where we explore some essential moments and themes from the various literature texts, but in quick, focused bursts. If my normal episodes of Study Sessions are an all-you-can-eat banquet, think of these Baughcuts episodes as a perfectly packed snack box. They're bite-sized, satisfying, and just what you need to keep you going through your revision. Now, today in this episode, we're diving into the character of Piggy in Lord of the Flies, obviously by William Golding, and we're going to be looking at just 5 significant quotations to unpack his role and how his marginalisation, dehumanisation, and general outsider status underscore the novel's larger themes. We'll be exploring these quotations in chronological order, so that will help with your understanding of the book and its sequencing, and we'll be thinking about how Piggy's character develops and, of course, what he represents in Golding's allegorical masterpiece. So the first quotation is this: Piggy, who in this context was an irrelevance. This comes very early on in the book in chapter 1 and takes place when Ralph discovers the conch, itself a symbol of order and authority. Piggy, although intellectually perceptive and practical, is dismissed as unimportant by Ralph and irrelevance. Stylistically, Golding's terse phrasing reflects the group's tendency to overlook Piggy's value because of his physical appearance and his social awkwardness. Piggy's marginalisation here establishes his role very early on in the book as the intellectual and moral outsider. His practical contributions are overshadowed by the boy's superficial judgments, emphasising society's frequent disregard for those who don't fit conventional ideals. By framing Piggy as an irrelevance, Golding critiques the human tendency that many of us have to devalue intellect and rationality when charisma and physicality come to dominate. In the same chapter, we've got another quotation which reinforces this idea about Piggy. The quote is, "For a moment the boys were a closed circuit of sympathy with Piggy outside." This line follows the revelation of Piggy's nickname, cruelly revealed, of course, by Ralph, and the boys' collective laughter. This imagery of a, quote, closed circuit of sympathy powerfully conveys the exclusionary group dynamics forming among the boys. Piggy's outsider status is really solidified here as he becomes a scapegoat and an object of derision for their laughter and cruelty. Golding's depiction of Piggy's marginalisation highlights his dehumanisation by the group. The boys' shared mockery unites them, but temporarily, and it's built on isolating Piggy, reducing him to a source of amusement rather than a valued member of the group. This dehumanisation reflects the fragility of their unity, which of course is based on exclusion rather than empathy. The third quotation comes from chapter 2, and it is, quote, "Piggy glanced nervously into hell and cradled the conch." Now, this moment from chapter 2 captures Piggy during the chaotic fire scene, where the boy's recklessness sets part of the island ablaze. This is the moment where the signal fire gets out of hand and the boy with the birthmark goes missing, presumably burnt to death. The metaphor of hell, evoking destruction and chaos, contrasts sharply with Piggy's protective gesture of cradling the conch, again a symbol of order and civilization. Piggy's nervous glance and his protective actions emphasize again his outsider status as the lone voice of reason. While the other boys are consumed by their impulsive actions, Piggy's focus on the conch underscores his belief in structure and accountability. Golding's depiction of Piggy here further isolates him, as his rationality is increasingly out of place in the boys' descent into savagery. We're up to quotation 4 now. Great quotation this. "Life," said Piggy expansively, "is scientific. That's what it is." And now this comes from chapter 5, and in this scene, Piggy tries to rationalise the boy's fear of the beast by appealing to science and to logic. His confident tone contrasts with the boys' growing paranoia around the beast, as he asserts that their fears are irrational and unfounded. Golding uses Piggy's speech to highlight his marginalisation as the intellectual outsider. Despite his attempts to bring logic to the discussion, Piggy's perspective is dismissed or overshadowed, reflecting the group's shift away from rationality. His reliance on scientific reasoning becomes a marker of his isolation, as the boys increasingly embrace superstition and savagery. This moment poignantly illustrates how Piggy's dehumanization extends even to his ideas, which are either ignored or ridiculed. And the final quotation of this short episode is this tragic quotation, quote, "Piggy fell 40 feet and landed on his back across the square red rock in the sea." This is, of course, from chapter 11. Piggy's death marks the climax of the boys' descent into savagery. The graphic description of his fall and, at the same time, the destruction of the conch symbolizes the complete obliteration of order, reason, and morality on the island. Golding's very visceral imagery, his head opened and stuff came out, parallels the slaughter of the pigs, reducing Piggy to a dehumanized victim of the group's violence. Piggy's death is the ultimate expression of his outsider status and his dehumanization. The boys' disregard for his life reflects their complete rejection of civility and reason. The sea's, quote, "long, slow sigh" as it claims Piggy's body symbolizes nature's indifference to human conflict, reinforcing the novel's grim outlook on humanity's capacity for cruelty and for evil. So Piggy's journey, then, in Lord of the Flies, is a tragic exploration of marginalisation, dehumanisation, and really the plight of the outsider. From his early exclusion to his brutal death, Piggy embodies the fragility of intellect and civility in a world dominated by primal instincts. Golding uses Piggy's character to challenge us as readers. How often do we dismiss or dehumanize those who think differently or appear weak? And what does that say about us as individuals and as a society? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Baughcuts. If you found it helpful, be sure please to share it with people in your class, encourage other people to listen to it, leave a review, and make sure you follow the podcast too so you're notified when new episodes come out. Stay tuned for the next episode. Keep studying hard, keep revising, and get ready for those mid-year exams. Best of luck.